Two men, same paycheck, same age, same $1,200 a month going somewhere. One retires comfortable. The other retires scared. Same income, same effort, same intention. The gap between them by 60? Around $740,000. And neither of them ever felt the difference month to month. That's the trap. It hides in plain sight. It looks like discipline, it feels like progress. But it isn't. Most men assume that putting away $1,200 a month means they're on track. They've done the responsible thing. They've checked the box. But $1,200 a month is not a plan, it's just a number. And numbers without structure quietly betray you over decades. Let me walk you through what's actually happening underneath that monthly amount. Because the difference between these two men is not effort, it's architecture. Picture the first man. He's 35. He sets up an automatic transfer of $1,200 a month into a high-yield savings account. He feels good. He's saving. He's being responsible. He's doing what his father once told him to do. He keeps doing this for 25 years, disciplined, consistent, never misses a month, never panics, never wavers from the routine. By 60, he has roughly $430,000 sitting in cash and short-term instruments. He thinks that's a win. It isn't, and we'll get to exactly why. Now picture the second man, same age, same $12,012 a month, but his money goes into a diversified, tax-advantaged retirement vehicle with broad market exposure. He doesn't touch it. He doesn't watch it daily. He lets compounding do what compounding has always done in the background. By 60, his balance sits somewhere near $1.17 million. Same monthly contribution, wildly different outcome, same effort, completely different architecture underneath. The gap is roughly $740,000. That's real money, real years of freedom, real options the first man simply will not have at 60. Here's where the wound opens. Most men in their 40s have no idea which version they've been living. They just know they've been saving something. You probably felt this. You log into your account. The number looks fine. You don't ask hard questions because the number looks fine on the surface. That's the trap. Saving is not investing. Movement is not progress. A growing balance is not the same as a growing future you can actually retire into. I want to slow down here because this is the part that matters. The reason this gap exists isn't because one man is smarter. It's because one man's money is doing work and the other man's money is sleeping in a drawer. Cash sitting in a savings account loses to inflation almost every year. Quietly, invisibly. You don't see it on the statement, you see it at the grocery store and the gas pump. So while the first man's account number goes up, his actual buying power barely moves. He's running on a treadmill and calling it a marathon. The miles are imaginary. The second man's money is taking on measured risk, not gambling, not chasing, just participating in the long arc of broad economic growth that has played out for 100 years. Over 25 years, that participation roughly triples the outcome, not because of luck, because of time and exposure working together, quietly, every single day in the background. Now here's the part nobody talks about honestly. The first man isn't lazy, he isn't financially illiterate, he's cautious by temperament. And caution, in the wrong vehicle, becomes one of the most expensive decisions a man can make over a lifetime. It is the polite name for a slow, decades-long leak. This is the healthy versus trap distinction most people miss entirely. Healthy caution means understanding your risk and choosing your structure on purpose with eyes open. Trap caution means avoiding decisions because they feel uncomfortable in the moment. One protects you over time. The other slowly drains you while looking like virtue. I want to address the objection forming in your head right now. You might be thinking, but what about a market downturn near retirement? What if the second man loses 30% at 58? Fair question, real concern. And here's the honest answer most people won't give you out loud. Even with a significant downturn near retirement, the math still favors him by a wide margin. Historically, the second man's balance still ends up materially higher than the first man's, even after a brutal year. Time in the market absorbs more pain than people expect it to. The first man has no downturn risk on paper. He also has no upturn participation. He's locked himself out of both sides of the equation, and only one of those sides was actually hurting him. There's an advanced nuance here most men in their 40s miss entirely. It's not just where the money goes, it's the tax treatment of where the money goes over decades. A dollar that grows tax-deferred is not the same as a dollar taxed every year along the way. Over decades, that one distinction alone can shift the final number by 6 figures without you ever noticing. The first man is paying tax on whatever small interest his savings throws off every single year, quietly compounding against him year after year after year on every statement. The second man, in the right vehicle, lets growth compound without that annual drag. Same dollar in, very different dollar out by the time he's 60 and ready to live on it. This is why two men with identical incomes, identical discipline, and identical good intentions land in completely different places at 60. The architecture chose the outcome before they even started. Let me pause here for a moment, because I'm guessing some of this is hitting close. Maybe you're the first man. Maybe you've been the first man for 15 years and never realized it. I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me where you actually are right now. Are you saving or are you investing? Do you actually know the difference in your own accounts tonight? Be honest. Not for me, for you. Sometimes naming where you are out loud is the first crack in a pattern that's been quietly costing you for years without making a sound. Your story might be exactly what another man scrolling this video needs to read. He's 43, he's been saving for a decade. He doesn't know yet that his $1,200 isn't doing what he thinks it's doing. Your comment could be the moment he checks his own accounts. So drop it below, and let's keep moving into the part most people never get to hear. Here's where the real work begins. Because knowing the gap exists is not the same as closing it. Awareness is step 1, not the finish line by a long shot. The men who close this gap don't do anything dramatic. They don't day trade. They don't chase hot tips. They don't move their money around constantly chasing returns. They make 1 or 2 structural decisions, and then they leave them alone for 20 years. That's the entire move. That's the whole quiet secret behind the wealth. Decision 1 is the vehicle. Where the money lives matters more than how much you put in. A wrong vehicle with $1,500 monthly underperforms a right vehicle with $900 monthly over 30 years. Decision 2 is the allocation, not picking individual winners, just choosing a sensible spread of broad exposure appropriate to your timeline and your stomach for volatility. Decision 3 is the part everyone underestimates. Not touching it, not panicking, not optimizing every 6 months because a podcast guy got loud about something he heard last week. The men who win this game are boring on purpose. Their portfolios look almost identical at 35 and at 55. They just kept showing up, decade after decade, no drama. There's a quiet shame I want to name here. If you're 45 and just realizing this, you might feel a wave of regret hit you, like you've already lost the game and there's no point. You haven't. The math is different now, but it's not over by any stretch. A man starting structural changes at 45 still has 15 to 20 productive compounding years ahead of him. 15 years of correct architecture beats 30 years of wrong architecture. That's not a motivational line. That's the actual math compounding inside the numbers we just walked through. Where it gets harder is in your 50s. The runway shortens. The mistakes get more expensive. The room for recovery narrows in real, measurable, painful ways. But even at 52, even at 55, the difference between continuing the wrong pattern and shifting to the right one is still hundreds of thousands of dollars by 70. Most men don't make this shift because it requires admitting something uncomfortable about themselves, that what they thought was responsibility was actually a polite, well-dressed form of avoidance. Saving felt safe because it felt visible. The balance went up, the number was concrete, the action was familiar and emotionally easy to repeat without thinking too hard. Investing felt risky because it felt abstract. The balance moved both ways. The action required trust in something you couldn't see or feel or count on a daily basis. But the real risk was never the market. The real risk was inflation eroding a static pile while life kept getting more expensive every single year, quietly in the background. That's the deeper layer most people never reach. The thing that felt safe was the actual danger. The thing that felt dangerous was the actual safety waiting on the other side. This inversion sits at the center of why so many capable, hard-working men in their 50s feel quietly behind. They followed the instinct that felt right. The instinct lied to them for 30 years. Here's the part that should really sit with you tonight. Nobody told them. No alarm ever went off. No statement ever said, "You are underperforming your potential by $740,000 in plain language." The system doesn't warn you. The balance keeps going up. The illusion of progress holds until one day, usually in your late 50s, it suddenly doesn't hold anymore and the math becomes brutal. That's why this video exists, not to scare you. To put the question in front of you while there's still meaningful time left to actually use the answer in a real way. Look at your accounts this week, not to feel bad, just to look honestly at what's there. Ask whether your money is working or whether your money is sitting and waiting for nothing. If you don't know, that itself is the answer you needed. And it's a fixable one, starting with a single afternoon of honest review and a few quiet questions. You don't need to be brilliant. You don't need to time anything perfectly. You don't need to predict what the next decade will look like for the economy. You just need to make sure that $200 or the $600 or the $2,000 you're putting away every month is actually doing the work you think it's doing under the hood. Because two men with the same paycheck should not retire $740,000 apart. And the only reason they do is that one of them asked this question early and the other never asked it at all. Be the one who asks it. That single question, asked tonight, is worth more than any tip or trick you'll hear from anyone else this entire year. If this video helped something click for you, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm to put this in front of another man who needs the same wake-up call you just got tonight. Subscribe if you want more of these breakdowns. The bell makes sure you don't miss the next one, because most of what we cover here doesn't get shown to you unless you opt in directly. Drop a comment below telling me which part hit hardest. The vehicle question, the tax drag piece, the quiet shame of starting late. Whatever it was, name it for yourself out loud. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the inner work on your money, because most men your age simply won't. They'll keep scrolling past videos like this one. You stopped and listened. That matters more than you think it does. The men who close gaps like this aren't smarter than everyone else. They're just willing to look at the thing other men refuse to look at. In the next video, we go deeper into the numbers. We unpack the silent retirement target most men in their 50s get catastrophically wrong, and why the figure your advisor quotes is often the floor, not the goal. Because once you fix the vehicle, the next question becomes, how much is actually enough to live on? And the honest answer will surprise almost everyone watching this channel right now. I'll see you in that one.